Might be an off day for the Sixers, but that does not stop the good news from rolling in. We had a new injury update on Jared McCain. Sounds like his return is near. Plus, Daryl Morey made a tough decision this offseason that myself and a lot of Sixers fans did not necessarily agree with, but I think it's paying off. Before we get to that, hit that sub button, join the channel if you want free year-round Sixers coverage right here on 76ers Now. We are 21 people away from hitting 24.2 thousand subscribers right here. News, rumors, analysis, live watch parties, and more. And it's all 100% free. Lock us in. Hit that sub button. You will not regret it. So let's start with the latest on McCain, who, of course, has not played yet this season as he deals with that injury to his thumb on his shooting hand. Some good news, though, as today on Thursday, October 30th, day before Halloween, Jared McCain is back practicing in full. Now, Nick Nurse did say that today's practice was a little bit of a lighter one in terms of the amount of contact that the players went through, but it's still a good sign to hear that McCain is back practicing in full. This came this morning after Sixers practice, of course, from Adam Aronson, good friend of the show here, and he was one who first reported that McCain was a full participant. In fact, everybody, including Paul George, Trendon Watford, Joel Embiid, was a full participant in Sixers practice. Dominic Barlow, though, did not practice in full. Of course, he did suffer that elbow laceration last Saturday against the Hornets. He'll be out for another couple games. But other than that, man, it's great to hear McCain back out there, even if it was a lighter practice from the sounds of it. We have not really got to see a whole lot of Jared McCain since he has come into the NBA. And obviously, when we did see him out there last year, he was fantastic, right? And it was great to see because there wasn't a lot of good going for this team last season outside of that stretch of under 20 games where McCain was out there hooping. He was knocking down shots. He was showing, kind of in a similar sense to what VJ Edgecombe has done so far this year, that he was more ready to produce right away in the NBA than we really thought he could. And his shooting ability and his presence is going to make this Sixers offense, which has already been one of the best in the NBA to start the season, even more dangerous. The Sixers this year, second in points per game at 129.3 behind only the Miami Heat of all teams, the number one three-point shooting team in the NBA so far this season. I can't believe I'm saying that about this Sixers team after what we saw last year, where they were one of the worst. Even in the preseason, they weren't very good. But guys like Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes have been firing from deep, and they are second in offensive rating behind the Houston Rockets. So it's been a real surprise start, especially offensively for the Sixers team, but they've been led by their amazing guard trio, and I can't wait to see McCain get added to that and make it a fearsome foursome, if you will, of guards that just give the Sixers so many options of how they can attack and how they can play offensively. And look, this guard trio so far this season, obviously Maxey is playing at an MVP level, leading the NBA in scoring and doing it efficiently as well. VJ Edgecombe, even after a little bit of a down game in the most recent win against the Washington Wizards on Tuesday, still off to a historic start to his rookie season, over 20 points a game, also shooting the ball efficiently. And Quentin Grimes put that whole contract situation behind him and has picked up really right where he left off, shooting nearly 50% from three and bringing a lot defensively as well. That is so valuable. So you already have these guards that are really carrying the Sixers right now to wins. You add Jared McCain to that bunch, right? And, obviously you got to consider how he fits in to this rotation. That's going to be something Nick Nurse will have to manage, right? How do you manage the minutes with McCain coming back? But his gravity on offense is invaluable. There's not a lot of guys in the league, and yes, we're talking about a guy in McCain who hasn't played all that much, who have the gravity that he does, who can move a defense just by where he is around the perimeter, because his three-point shot really is that deadly, but he also showed the ability to take guys off the dribble. And one of the things I talked about with the Sixers team is they have elements of last year's Pacers team, where they have so many guys that can dribble, shoot, pass. That's what you need in today's NBA. You can't be out there on the floor if you can't do, quite frankly, at least two of those three things, but really all three of those things, right? So just another option at that guard spot. And it does allow you, because people have asked, well, how do you get him back in the rotation with Maxey McCain or Maxey Edgecombe Grimes? Maxey and Edgecombe are playing over 40 minutes a game. So take those minutes down here early in the season, and you can allow them, obviously, to not have to play so much at this early portion in the season, and then it allows you to fit McCain into that rotation, because there's just no reason at this point for Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe to be playing 40-plus minutes a game, and we're not even in November at the time of recording. So I think he fits pretty seamlessly into that rotation. Plus, Grimes plays a lot of that three. He guards wings, not just guards, so you can have three of these guys out there. I wouldn't have all four, although I wouldn't put it past Nick Nurse to experiment and maybe try a lineup of Maxey, Edgecombe, McCain, and Grimes. I'd be interested to see what that looks like defensively. I don't love it, but certainly having all those guys out there offensively I would just love to see what that would look like and how opposing teams would try to stop that and try to guard that, though those dynamic offensive players out there. Now, Adam Aronson added on with what Nick Nurse had to say about Jared McCain and how he looked at today's practice. Nurse said McCain looks, quote, pretty good, though, again, today's practice was light without much contact, given they had that back-to-back early in the week, have a game tomorrow. First NBA Cup game, big one on Halloween against the Boston Celtics. Nurse said McCain's conditioning is in a good spot, as nothing, of course, replicates game action. Shooting isn't an issue either. Of course, he had that injury on his shooting hand, so slight concern coming out, but seems like everything is good in that aspect. Next question, of course, how he looks full speed, real 5-on-5. So we'll see next time the Sixers do practice in full with that intensity at this point in the season. Not sure how often they really are a full go from that regard, but nonetheless, good to see him out there. I expect McCain sometime in the next week, I'd say. Original timeline did put him in a couple weeks into the regular season, which would be sometime the next week. Sixers expected to get Paul George back in the next week. Then Dominic Barlow can return, and you can have this team fully healthy and ready to go. I can't wait to see McCain back out there. If you are feeling like I am and you're excited for McCain to return, spam his jersey number, spam those 20s down in the comment section. Would have been the Rookie of the Year last year if he did not get injured. Now he gets to prove that, hopefully, probably coming off the bench for this 76ers squad. Before we keep moving here on today's show, of course, we covered the Jared McCain return. Next, I want to talk about this tough decision Daryl Morey made in the offseason that really has paid off, and I disagreed with that at the time, but he's looking like the smarter guy right about now. Real quick, before we get to that, want to give a big shout out to our good friends and our great sponsor here on Philadelphia 76ers Now, and that is DraftKings. All your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers, bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. And these are my picks for some Friday NBA action. Went with a 3-pick parlay with plus 855 odds. So put down $100. If this smacks, you could win 855. I'm taking the Sixers 3.5-point favorites at home in that NBA Cup opener tomorrow against the Boston Celtics. Of course, they beat Boston on opening night. Give me the Hawks 2.5-point favorites against the Indiana Pacers. Indiana really struggling out of the gate. Believe they are still winless at this time of recording. Injuries, of course, to Tyrese Halliburton, but also other areas on the roster. Andrew Nembhard is injured. Siakam's trying to carry them. Benedict Matherin's been hurt. Atlanta, off to a rough start as well, but I like them as 2.5-point favorites. And then give me the Bulls money line as underdogs against the New York Knicks. Bulls, the only other undefeated team in the Eastern Conference. Bit of a surprise, but I'm rocking with them over the Knicks. Big shout out to DraftKings, of course, for sponsoring today's show. Again, use that promo code when you sign up, Sixers Chat. So let's get to this conversation regarding Daryl Morey and a potential offseason move, or an offseason move, I should say, he did make that potentially could be reaping some big benefits for Philadelphia, because he might have been right after all. And, you think about what Morey did this offseason, rebuilding this team on the margins mostly. You had those big contracts, so we had to make some smaller moves to ensure that this team wouldn't run into the same issues they did last year. He promised to go out and make sure this team was younger, was faster, and we have seen that in the early part of this season. But one of the moves that he made, maybe you could call it a move he did not make in the offseason, was retaining Gershon Yabusele. And Yabu was tremendous for the Sixers last season, and myself and a lot of other Sixers fans wanted Morey to bring him back. Now, it was going to be difficult with the financials because of the apron rules and the Sixers wanting to be able to retain Quentin Grimes and give him a contract. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, but it was difficult to keep both Grimes and Yabusele. And look, Yabu, obviously, what was a bad year for Philadelphia last year, was really good in his first season coming back over to the NBA. Of course, after having that great run in the Olympics, dunking on LeBron. Last season, averaged 11 points, 5.5 rebounds, and shot it very efficiently. And it was a shame that we didn't get to see him in the playoffs for Philadelphia, because I felt like that's where he can make the biggest impact, was on a winning team as a complementary piece who can play the 4, play some small ball 5. Obviously, he was out there sometimes as a top 2, top 3, sometimes even the best player on the floor for the Sixers because of how injured they were. Of course, he ends up going to the Knicks in the offseason, to the rival New York Knicks, and really for not a lot of money, right? So the Sixers let Yabusele walk because they wanted to keep that money open to sign Quentin Grimes, to stay under the NBA's aprons. And a lot of fans were mad at Morey for not giving Yabusele the small amount of money he got from the Knicks, and kind of mad at Yabu as well for going to the rival. But, of course, can't blame him for cashing in on an opportunity that he had to make some money given how long he was out of the NBA and that he got this second opportunity. Obviously, in the end, Philadelphia and Quentin Grimes couldn't come to a long-term contract, so he ended up signing that qualifying offer anyways. You probably could have found a way, if you knew that Grimes was taking that qualifying offer, to keep the both of them. So, how is this paying off? You're probably sitting there thinking right now, well, he could have had Grimes and Yabusele. How is this a win for Daryl Morey? Well, let me tell you right now, if you haven't been keeping up with the New York Knicks and what they've been doing, they're off to a little bit of a rocky start. And look, I was right there with you, right? I was upset that Morey let Yabusele go. Thought they should have kept him. But, man, the way that Yabusele has played so far this season, and look, of course, it's early. We're only a few games in. Long way to go. But Gershon does not look very good for New York. Averaging under 2 points a game. He's already injured as well. Injured his knee the other day. But prior to that injury, these numbers are just not good. And, again, it's only a few games in. And I still love Gershon Yabusele, what he did for this team, the kind of player he can be. But it is important to note, he was out of the NBA for a while for a reason. He got a second chance, and I thought he proved himself last year. But, yeah, that was only 1 year production. He is about 30 years old, so it's not like he's going to be getting better and better. Not a tremendous athlete, but you figure the way he plays the game is in a winning fashion, right? But that has not shown up so far this year for the Knicks, and now he is injured. And, also important to note this, which was brought up on X by NBA New York on Twitter. Gershon Yabusele used to playing year-round, right, playing overseas, but in the summer of 2024, helped lead France with Wembanyama all the way to the gold medal game in the Olympics, where they ultimately ended up losing. He then played almost 1,900 minutes in Philadelphia last season, his career high, and 4 times all his previous NBA minutes combined. He then captained France this past summer in Eurobasket, as Wemby did not play in Eurobasket. So it was Gershon that led the way. That's a lot of wear and tear on the tires over the last 2+ seasons for a guy who is getting up there a little bit in age. And, I was talking to Marshall Green. A lot of you probably know him, hosts our Knicks channel here at Chat Sports. Apparently, Gershon is up to 285 pounds now, where back with the Sixers and back during the Olympics run, he was listed at 265. So he's put on a little bit of weight and not like great weight. He was already a big burly guy and strong, but he was able to move well with Philadelphia. Hasn't really been the case so far for the Knicks. And again, maybe not in the best shape. And clearly, maybe that wear and tear is getting him a little bit, and he is injured again early in the season. This could certainly change. Now, look, I know Yabu's only making about $5.5 million this season, so it's not like the Sixers dodged a bullet in terms of saving a ton of money, right? And not overpaying Yabu on a big deal. At the end of the day, it's a small contract. I'm sure the Knicks don't quite regret it yet as much, but I'm giving Daryl Morey some credit here and saying that this is good news for Philadelphia and that he was right, because it seems like Daryl Morey had a plan all along to move on from Gershon Yabusele with some cheaper, younger options that would maybe fit what this team needed better. And there's really those three guys that we have talked about really all season long, right? Especially early on here and in the preseason and training camp that have just been tremendous for Philadelphia. That's Trendon Watford, who we haven't seen much of with that hamstring injury, but looked good against Washington in his debut with the Sixers. At 6'9", can run the point, ran pick and roll, pick and pop with Joel Embiid. Dominic Barlow, who was awesome in that opener against Boston. Unfortunately, he's been hurt since then, but it looks like he can make a big impact. And I like what Jabari Walker has done as well as an athletic four who, similar to these guys, just fights, does the little things, grabbing offensive rebounds, making hustle plays. So you got all these guys really for the same amount of money that you would have been able to keep Yabu for, and you got all three of them, two of them on two-way contracts, and then Watford on a vet min. So I'd rather have all these guys than Gershon Yabusele at this point. So even though I was banging the table to keep Yabu, and I'm sure a lot of you were, I got to give Daryl Morey credit. I think he made the right idea and the right play here by going with these options instead of trying to keep Gershon Yabusele. And who knows, maybe if he did, it would have impacted the Quentin Grimes thing. And of course, Grimes is hooping right now. All right, that'll do it for today's show. Again, if you're looking for somewhere for Sixers news from a Sixers fan for Sixers fans all year long, this is the place. Our next watch party here on the show, I believe, is going to be next Wednesday when the Sixers face the Cleveland Cavaliers in a big Eastern Conference matchup. So again, for news, rumors, analysis, all that all year long, be sure to hit that sub button. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time right here on 76ers Now.